G'day folks and welcome to Cinema Australia. My name's Matthew Eeles and today I'm joined by Mark Grentell, the director of The Merger. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the film. You must be happy to be sharing it with audiences.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's beautiful to finally have a chance to let actual humans watch the film and laugh and cry and enjoy it. So yeah, I'll never get sick of watching that.
Yeah. You said last night that you're a huge AFL fan. Who's your team?
Oh, I'm almost embarrassed to say this year, but I'm a Carlton supporter. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Carlton supporter. I'll never give up. I've been one since I was born. Yeah. And I'm not giving up now.
No, you never give up.
But introducing my two sons to it does feel tantamount to child abuse. So making them Carlton supporters right now is a bit tough.
They'll come good.
They'll come good. We'll be good.
Some of the Merger's themes played out in real life recently. When Richmond's Basher Hooley and Essendon's Adam Sard decided to make a personal statement at a recent clash following Fraser Anning's controversial comments.
Yep.
About Muslim immigration. What do you make of Hooley and Sard's response and protest?
I think it's incredible. I think we're seeing this change in Australia of what I think I've always kind of felt is that we're not bad people. Like, we don't want to judge or push people away. We're an accepting country. We were all immigrants. We all came here from different families and different backgrounds. These new people are no different from different cultures. We need to embrace that and support it and get behind it like we always have with everything else in life. So the AFL has taken great leadership with that. I think particularly in the last 5 or more years, they've said, no, this is the place we want to be and we're going to stand for it. And I think that leadership is permeating through the players and they have a lot of influence. And I think that's really strong and it makes me feel proud of the film because it's speaking to the world in which we now live.
I'm always surprised when I read through comment sections on social media about the people who say the AFL's no place for politics. Isn't it the perfect place for politics considering how widely observed it is and you know, such an elite sport like AFL, I figure, is the perfect place for this.
I think it is because we clearly don't look up to our politicians. We don't know who our Prime Minister is going to be every given week.
Yes.
So sports people become their icons, whether we like them or not, whether not for everybody, but so are actors and so are, inspirational people everywhere. We all have influence. And if football's spreading around to the world on that level and around this country, then their position and their opinions matter.
Yes.
And you've only got to look at the diversity of players in the AFL system now compared to 25 years ago.
Yeah.
The Majak Dawes, the Eeles, the Bashar Hooleys, there's more and more and more of this happening, and that's Australia now. They're Australians, this is Australia. You don't want to be racist to those people, surely. I think they have to take that leadership position, and politics is in every part of life, so football is no different.
So tell us about The Merger. What's it about?
The Merger's about the small town of Bodgy Creek, and it's struggling to field a local football team. So their forward-thinking captain coach, Troy Carrington, comes up with an idea of recruiting players from a nearby refugee centre and teaching them to play AFL football. So he takes the town on a bit of a journey of change, especially in a sort of smaller regional town, not known for its open-mindedness like Bodgy Creek. It sort of just opens that up and teaches the town the similarities in what they have in common, and not what it is that separates them or distances them from each other. So it's a comedy, but it's got a lot of dramatic pathos to it as well.
Yeah, and it's very, very funny. So tell us about working with Damien and helping him to adapt his one-man play into a feature film.
I loved working with Damien. He's such a generous spirit. He's been in comedy for 30 plus years, so his craft and his understanding of the art form is second to none. His ability to write a joke is incredible, but then his capacity to write really engaging characters and then to turn that joke into drama in an instant or the opposite way around is something to be revered and something we don't do a lot with our writers in this country. And so I just worked really closely with Damien to sort of help convert the one-man show into a play, into a film, and that involved having to extract all of these characters. You know, in the stage show, he just plays Troy, Bull, Neil, Saeed, and Goober and Snapper as sock puppets. So in the film, we're like, oh, okay, well, who's Angie? So we had to create Angie. We had to build out Fran. We had to build out the world of Bodgy Creek. So it took quite a lot of time to sort of just gradually do that layer by layer by layer. And the hardest part was understanding who Troy is too. You know, who is this guy? And he's an ex-football star. but what's his purpose for wanting to change this place or wanting to, go on this journey.
Tell us about casting the merger. Did you have anyone in mind for any particular characters, or were they all chosen by their auditions?
They're all mostly chosen by audition. I went to NIDA with Josh McConville, so I always wanted to do something with Josh, and so he was always super high on our list for Snapper. But everybody else was just open-mindedness. We knew we wanted a really strong comedic person for Goober, and so Nick Cody was fantastic. And we wanted a mix of really good theatrical talent and really good comedic talent, because the film is dramatic and comedic. So you've got Kate Mulvaney, who's a Perth girl, or WA, I think she's from Geraldton, I should say. She'll probably get on me about that. And she's a Helping Award-winning actress, incredible playwright in her own right. And John Howard, fantastically established actor, Penny Cook. And we're like, okay. And then you've got Nick Cody and Aaron Gox and Michelle Brazier and Ben Knight. You've got all these comedic strengths. So I think we sort of tried to get that balance between the two. And then casting a young boy was always a challenging role. Trying to cast Neil, who's 9 years old.
I want to talk about Rafferty, but we're just going to go to a clip at the moment, and we'll be back.
I thought the world owed me something. Didn't. I crawled out from under my log and I found you blokes. And here we bloody are. We're going to play against two oppositions today. The first mob you're going to beat when you run out there. You're going to beat the second mob after the balls bounce. The Goober. Bloody lead them out there. Smile your mum as you run past.
I was genuinely impressed by everyone's performances, but it was Rafferty, who really stuck with me. How was it working with Rafferty, and did he come preloaded with an understanding of the merger's themes and the hardships that some of the characters were facing?
He really did. He's a really knowing kid. He's really old, like an old soul, isn't that what they say? His father's a really accomplished filmmaker, so Alastair Greason made Sanctum, and he does a lot of work with James Cameron's films. He's a second unit director, so Raf's grown up on film sets with his dad, and he understands the language, so Alastair was really supportive in helping prep Rafferty for his scenes and giving him an understanding, and then I was able to work with him on the scenes that we needed every time. So he's got a really good dry delivery, so he's quite a funny, intelligent kid. But the tricky part was always then building enough empathy and likability for the character so that when he has his dramatic turn about his father, you really feel something. And I think we've captured that, because you always hear people sniffling or getting emotional at that moment, because everybody feels that, and that's the beauty of this film, and that's why Neil's so key, is because the film isn't about what divides us, it's actually about what we have in common. And one thing everyone has in common is grief. We've all lost someone, we all know what that feels like. And so if a refugee loses their father or brother, and a young boy loses his dad, that connects us. And having a young character that can kind of sell that element to the film was super important, and we're so lucky that Raf was able to deliver that.
Oh, that's great. There's some great footy scenes in the film. Did you bring in an AFL advisor to teach the guys some skills?
Well, Damien and I like to think we're the AFL advisors on the film. We're both, he's an Essendon supporter, I'm a Carlton supporter. We grew up playing the game our whole lives. There was no shortage of people willing to give us AFL advice, all the guys. Nick Cody's a big fan, Alastair's a big fan, but everyone loves it. But we had the Wagga Tigers coach come in and do a bit of a session. So he ran some training for a lot of the guys with refugee backgrounds that had never played the sport before. And then they had a lot of kicks to kick with the guys. So Damien took training a few times. Nick Cody took some stuff. The Wagga Tigers did some training for us. And the boys really built up a bond just learning how to kick the ball. Because a lot of the Wagga community, from the Yazidi population, from the Afghan, from the Iraqi guys that had all moved to Wagga in the last 3 or 4 years, they're all featured extras in the film. So when you see the football field and it's full of all those diverse guys, they're real guys in Wagga that live in town that came to be featured extras every week. But most of those guys had never picked up an AFL ball before. They could juggle a soccer ball till the cows come home, but put an AFL ball, they're like, all right, but they picked that up over time. So it was kind of really organically came together. It was really cool.
Actually, in the press kit, it says that Josh McConville had to put a handbrake on his AFL skills. Is that true? Or?
Yeah, Josh is actually a really good athlete. He's a really good footballer across both codes. But ironically, he plays the crappiest footballer in the film. So we spoke a lot about how do you do that. But Josh is such a gifted like he's a great comedic actor as well. He's always doing these heavy dramatic roles, but he's got great comedic ability. And so just being able to kick on his left foot and do a really bad delivery onto foot, he really sells that he's terrible. And my favourite thing about last night's screening was when Snapper takes a mark and he has to sort of, potentially kick the winning goal. I heard someone behind me in the crowd go, "Oh no, not Snapper!" And I was like, "Oh great, they've bought in that he's terrible."
Yes.
So Josh worked.
It worked.
Really worked in that moment.
It must be a great feeling to sit with audiences and hear their reactions to the film.
It is, yeah. It's so rare. Like I grew up doing theatre most of my life, and I trained in theatre at NIDA. So I'm used to listening to an audience watch a show every night and get that reward. But in cinema, you don't get it. You sit in a dark room for months and months and months, editing and twisting and turning and taking notes and trying new things and seeing what doesn't work. So to finally sit with a cinema full of an audience who's never seen it before, genuinely react to the film, and you're like, oh, right, that's what it's about. Cool. It's sort of reward for effort and perseverance. So I love it, and I love that people, they sort of build up this little bit of getting to know the characters with bits of laughs, and then there's huge laughs at the footy stuff and some of the refugee stuff, and then it crushes you with some drama and it goes quiet, and then we build it back up again. So I think of it dramaturgically when they're laughing. Like I'm thinking about the structure of the film and how the laughs are coming. So I get caught up in that sort of stuff.
So you've done a cricket film, now AFL. What's next? Darts?
I did actually. I wanted to write a short film about darts once. That's fun. I love on Fox Sports how the UK Dart League is just so ridiculously dramatic.
Yes, very dramatic.
Like,
they take it very seriously.
People watching, and they got crazy hairstyles, and so I don't think there's a feature film in it, but I reckon there's a good short film. And 21. Triple 20. I think we need to get into some of that stuff. But no, I don't know. I get torn between. I've written a film about the 1974 World Cup Socceroos, which I think is a really cool story because they were the first Australian team to qualify for the World Cup. And they're these incredible guys, most of them from different countries as well, that were all just working class guys that had full-time jobs and then trained at night and managed to qualify for the World Cup. So I think that's a fascinating story. But if I can get away from sport, I might I'll either conclude the sporting trilogy or jump away from it entirely and do something else. I'm interested in stories that really, connect people to human things like grief, or I'm really working on a film at the moment about how young and old people connect. So an 80-year-old woman and a 12-year-old girl, and then what it is that we leave behind to those people, what it is that we pass on to them in life. So I had a lot of really powerful older mentors in my life. So I think that's a universal theme that people can connect with. So lots of ideas percolating. So we'll see which one comes out.
Great, I'm excited.
Yeah, cool.
Mark, thanks very much for joining us, and don't forget that the merger's in cinemas from August 30, and we're going to take a look at the trailer now. Enjoy and go see the merger.
Keep doing it until
Troy Carrington's AFL footy career ended when his leg got mangled as he ran through the banner on grand final day. Round here we call him Town Killer because of the Greenie protests he led that shut down the Bodgy Creek timber mill.
You as a club need to decide, merge or fold.
You can get quadruple your funding by accessing grants to employ refugees for the rebuild. These blokes can swing a hammer. I reckon they can kick a footy, yeah?
Get rid of that! Get rid of that!
When you go over the boundary, you're out of play. You go over the fence, you're a spectator. It's a general rule. Try and keep inside both of those.
Keep doing it until